1 minute for live, right, sir? Okay. A very pleasant good morning to everyone. Thank you for being here this morning. Today we are pleased to welcome Captain P. Sethunathan from Chennai. Sir is the senior first officer in Indigo Airline. Sir is a highly experienced and committed educator, researcher, and a commercial pilot. He is sort of internationally recognized associate professor and pilot with over 10-year teaching experience and mentoring and research experience. He is also a member of National Engineering Board of in Australia and Indian Board of Engineer. He is a multilateral representative and bridge between engineering and aviation sector for Australian and active pilot with flight time over 1800 hours and bush list completing PhD and teaching as associate professor in aviation sector, and he had successfully bought a 75,000 Australian dollar, which is equivalent in the funding for the several university. Sir have the very good skills in elements of aeronautics, aircraft system and instrument, flight dynamics, aircraft navigation and radio aids, air traffic control, aviation management, air traffic control and aerodrome design, crisis management in aircraft industry, aero engineering, thermodynamics, along with the propulsion. He is also he have also a membership in Australian National Engineering Register and Board of Professional Engineer in the Queensland, and also he is the member of Aeronautical Society of India. And along with that, he is the member of Engineering Institute in the India, and he is also taking one consultancy, aviation consultancy, which is responsible for undertaking the project related to airport and aviation management. And he has assisted various college and university setup with the lab, aeronautical lab and air ground run. He also have the license with the commercial pilot license, which is approved by the FAR USA, DGCA India, and he also have the flight radio telepathy operator license with CAA UK, DGCA India. He have also instrumental advanced ground instructor license approved by the FAR USA. He have the English license of English language proficiency with the lifetime approved by the DGCA with the India. And he have the educational qualification. Currently, he is pursuing the Anna University, Chennai PhD, and he had the dual master degree in airline airport management and aeronautical engineering. Along with that, he had the commercial pilot license flying by the YTCA USA. And today he will be sharing with his expert opinion on airport aerodrome design. So with this, I ask you to give full attention to the Captain Setu and help me in welcoming him. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you,
Sir.
Nikita. Thanks a lot for that. Okay, once again, thanks everyone
You're welcome.
for joining in this. And thanks for your Parul University for giving me opportunity be with you, one of a member, to take this session. And all the participants are most welcome. We'll go with the session directly instead of wasting our time. Is it okay for you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. You can able to see my slides. Something. Just a minute. Your interest one. Sure. Is the presentation is okay? Can you able to see the slides?
Yes, sir. It is.
Is it good?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Good morning, everyone. And today we're going to see about the airport and aerodrome design. And Nikita already explained, I have a little bit wide experience in the aviation sector, and myself Setu. And before we starting the session, and we start up with a very great day today. It's a 9/11. I hope anyone can able to tell anything unforgettable thing happened in aviation industry today. Is it the persons can able to answer right now or no? Nikita?
No, sir, you can continue. We have an end question answer session.
Okay, that's fine. The year and the rule implemented after 9/11. Just for your brief introduction, because it's the September 11th today, it's a very unforgettable day in the aviation industry. In USA, you remember, if I'm not, just you go ahead with that. In USA, we had a four aircraft hijack in 2001. After that, they implemented the new rule. That's thing is like locking and strengthening of cockpit door because to not to hijack the aircrafts, and the deployment of IFSO. That is nothing but in-flight safety officers, just for the safety of the aircraft, not to hijack the aircraft in the air. This is the wonderful day of aviation sector, September 11th, and we go directly to airport and aerodrome design. My thought today is like instead of going with too much of theoretical part, I try to explain you a little bit with my practical experiences. That's much more helpful for you all. Okay, you come to know about airport and aerodrome. There is a difference between the airport. The airport is nothing but the position used for takeoff and landing, which supposed to have one or multiple runways, which includes the passenger terminals. But the aerodrome, it's not considered all with this. In case of any emergencies, we can use any facilities or the land space used for landing the aircrafts. That's why there is a difference between airport and aerodrome. Okay, whether it's supposed to be in the land or water. And factors. The major factors we consider for the aerodrome design, we have lots of topography and initial conditions. We go with the especially the landing strips. And apart from that, we need to think about the size and feature of the aircrafts, which is used for the operation. And volume, you know about the volume and increase in the trips. Maybe if you have the lots of operations like Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore, you have lots of departures. But if you take, for example, if you're Vadodara, there is not much departures from there. That's why it's considered as the volume. And weather forecast, that's a very important factor for aviation industry because if probably if the temperature is increasing, your runway length is supposed to be more, and as well as the wind factor, because you can't take with the much tailwind considerations. Your wind factor is the major influence in the airport design because they will go with the wind factors of that specific location. Depends on that, they construct the runways and height and length of the runway. The length of the runway is very important factor because depends on the aircraft, whether it's a light aircraft, medium aircraft, or heavy aircraft for the landing or takeoff purposes, and depends on the airport facilities also. And these are all the overview of land side and air side view. Today you can able to see from the left side airport property. It's complete area we called as airport property. If you go with that, we again subdivided into land side and air side. But today we not much covered about the land side because the land side is a normal passenger transportation, terminal building, and so on so. But this is not much considered to the air side area. Your air side area it's normally start with the check-in counter of the baggages or whatever the thing. The way the air side starts, which include the apron gate. You know, everyone knows apron gate is nothing but the passengers get into the aircraft. That's a position you can call as apron gate, and it will into the taxiway and runway holding area. We go little bit explained with the in between the slides. There are lots of explanation for this. I'll just take few of the examples airports. That's easy for you to understand. There's airport types, whether it's based on type of the aircraft, maybe it's a single engine or multi-engine or a medium jet or heavy transport or general transport aircraft. For example, if you take Delhi Airport, it's being open for general transport airport. The reason is you can land and take off any type of aircraft at any situations because of the lighting systems and runway condition, weather forecast, everything is applicable for that. And very important thing everyone's supposed to know, this is ICAO rule. This is the convention of International Civil Aviation Organization. This aerodrome and airport design coming under the Annexure 14. This is everyone supposed to remember if you think about the airport and aerodrome design. This Annexure 14 includes, there is lots of chapter below this annexure 14. The volume 1 states aerodrome design and operations. That is nothing but there is 10 chapters included in that. First is a general one, and aerodrome data, physical characteristics, and obstacle restrictions, visual aids for navigation, and obstacle clearance. Again, electrical system, you can able to see that these are all the major criteria coming under the annexure 14 about the aerodrome design and the operations. And airport terminologies, everyone know about the terminologies. I think few things, everything is familiar. I think airfield, aerodrome beacon, and aeronautical beacon or aerodrome beacon, apron, approach surfaces and blast pads, clearway, displays threshold, and so on. And planning. What is planning? Planning is nothing but that depends on operation of the airport, whether the aircraft used for passenger, cargo, or vehicle movements, and maximum passengers, operator, and staff convenience for the lowest capital and cost. The aerodrome design normally depends on the, I already told you, very important factor of the aerodrome design depends on the traffic. You can't just build an airport just like that. Okay, because the thing is like it expensive thing, and you need to have the proper load factor or cargo operation to operate the airport. And master planning. These are all the basic preliminary steps whenever they go for the airport design. First is the pre-planning. You need to have the pre-plan. Why we are constructing that airport, whether it's a necessity for that airport to be in that place. And the public involvements and aviation forecast. Aviation forecast is nothing but it's maybe a wind factor, temperature, because if the temperature is not, it's a high temperatures, you need to have a very lengthy runway for takeoff for the jumbo jets. And inventory of existing conditions and facility requirements, alternate development and evaluation in case future developments. If you want to extend the runway or if you want another parallel runway, like example Bangalore, right? They've been constructed the parallel runway right now. There is two runways right now in the Bangalore because of they extended the new runway due to the demands. And environmental consideration and financial feasibility analysis. This is very important because without this last part, you can't go with the initial thing. That's why it's called airport layout plan. And airport configuration, we already talked about a little bit about that. I don't want to mention the same thing again and again. I already told the major factor you always concern about is wing size and shape of the area. That's a very important thing. And terminal buildings. And airfield concept. Okay, this is the just an outline view of the airport, how it's supposed to be look like. It's just like a kind of aerial view. For example, this airport they construct with the two parallel runways. That's why it's called. You can able to see in the from. I'll go with the top to bottom. Okay, that make much easier. It's coming with the terminal ramp because that are all coming into the area outside the runway factor. Okay, again you have the two parallel runways. You can able to see 47 left and 47 right. In the left extreme, you can see that is nothing but left runway and right runway. Okay, there is a two parallel runways. One is used for departure and one is used for arrival. That is nothing but if, for example, for Bangalore, we have the parallel runways. The major purpose of that is to reduce the traffic because the traffic today, you know that the aviation sector is booming. That's why there is lots of traffic. You can't able to manage with the single runway. That's why they depend on the parallel runways. That's why it's called parallel runway, 47 left and 47 right. For example, if the airport they have three runways, they're supposed to mention one more runway in the center. They normally mention as 4 Charlie. That is nothing but 4C. That's why it's called 4 left, 4 center, and 4 right. Okay. In case if the wind is not favorable to the 47 left, the departure is supposed to be happening in the opposite runway. That's why you can able to see the right side, 2 to right and 2 to left. This is the way the airport layout you can able to analyze whether it's for departure or for arrival. Again, we further move ahead with this. Okay, this is the basic thing you need to know. I'm not aware what kind of students you are right now because you maybe not have the idea how they construct this runway design. For example, they mentioned it's a 360 degrees. You know that that's a global configuration. It's from east to again coming back to east, right? That's why we started from the 360 degree in the top. This runway is constructed for runway 36 and 18. This is nothing but the runway designators. Depends on the position where they are giving the angle. They're supposed to be given the name for that. For example, this runway is constructed for 36 and 18. Okay, because if you're not able to understand this configuration, the further slides it's be very complicated for you. Try to understand this slide because that's why it's been given in the straight single runway for runway 36 and 18. Whether it may be departure in 18 or 36 depends on the wind factors. Okay. On runway configuration, there is lots of runway configurations, whether it's a single runway or parallel runway. For example, single runway Vadodara, and so many available in India. Most major airports they have single runways and parallel runways. In India, we have Bangalore, we have parallel runways. Shamshabad, Hyderabad, we have parallel runways. That may be two parallel runways and four parallel runways, but we don't have much four runways over here. And open V type, maybe open V type, we can see right now. Some way, I have some pictures. We already explained single runway. If the airport having less traffic, less passenger travel, there is no much cargo transportation, they use a single runway. Maybe in future, if it's needed, they will be extend the runway to parallel runway, another parallel runway, or maybe they will give you a cross runway like in Chennai. We'll go with that slide for the cross runway. You'll get fair idea about it. And four parallel runways. We don't have four parallel runways over here in India because we don't have much space facilities over here. That's why we don't have that four parallel runways. Right now we have two parallel runways and converging runways we have in few airports. And this is the example for your understanding. This is the Los Angeles, California. You can able to see the right top corner. Los Angeles, California, you have the four parallel runways. That is nothing but you can see that from the top, you can see four dark lines, right? 1, 2, and 3, 4. This 4 is runways. That's a usable of 6 left and 6 right. And if you come bottom, is 7 left and 7 right. The reason they are using here, it's a very huge runway. The major reason behind this is huge traffic. Okay, this is the major airport in the Los Angeles, California. That's why the transportation of the people is much more. Even the airport design is more complicated. If you go ahead with the design of the thing, even the terminal building, it's not a single terminal building. I've been explained further in the upcoming slides. You can able to see that. This is a little bit messed up thing, but you need to understand a few things. The parallel runways importance is you can use all the four runways for departures and landing. There is no restrictions in it because you have sufficient wingspan distance for aircraft to land and depart in both the runways because there is a different instrument procedures and air traffic control service available for these runways. That's why there is no delay in the departures and arrival. That's why they given this kind of thing. And this is the configuration of parallel runways. This is very important thing to understand that the thing is configuration of parallel runways for the closely spaced, intermediate, and fast space. This is nothing but the spacing between the runways. You need to have the minimum width to avoid the wingspan touch. You know that aircraft wing have the very huge dimensions. If the aircraft is supposed to be land in the parallel runway, the wing span supposed to be sufficient to land the aircraft. For example, I given some statistics of US busiest airports and statistics of European busiest airport. You can able to see few of the US busiest is 28 pairs of closely spaced parallel runways and 10 pairs of intermediate and 28 pairs of fast space. And few of them from the European you can able to get from the Google few things about the statistics of the busiest airports. And the systems of parallel runway, the same thing I already explained to this. This is the intersecting runway. The drawbacks of the intersecting runway is like if one runway is in use, another runway you can't use it as a parallel runway. For example, you can able to see this. You can able to visualize, Nikita. I can able to move the slides in the hand cursor. Nikita, are you with me? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. That's fine. And we have the two parallel runways, but we have two intersecting runways. Normally, what they do in the wind condition is favor, they'll use only these two parallel runways. In case if the wind is not favorable to this conditions, they will use the alternate runway for departure and takeoff. And further, going with the approach glide slope, you may be studied in your degrees. This is the parallel runways. They're supposed to have the approach lightning system to identify the runway, whether which runway we supposed to land while they're coming for the approach, whether it's a 3-degree glide slope or 5-degree glide slope at the maximum. And this is the single runway configurations. We already explained the designator. This runway is located between 27 and 09. This is nothing but 27 plus 180 is the opposite. Again, 09 plus 180 is the opposite. This is the way you need to calculate the runway designator. The if you see few things, airport beacon is there in the right top corner because the all the landings take off. They're supposed to monitor from there, and this is the ramp area to park all the aircrafts. The taxiways, most of the airport is supposed to have the parallel taxiways because it's easy for the aircraft to vacate via the exit rapid taxiway and the taxi out via the taxiways. Okay, there is a lightning signals. I have few slides about this also. We already talked about the wind shot. If you go and see the each airport, you're supposed to have the wind cone. The wind cone give the direction of the wind and the speed of the wind direction. Depends on that, we always take off the aircraft with the into the wind, not in the tailwind condition because tailwind is unfavored for takeoff or landing. Because if it's a tailwind, your aircraft will take long distance to roll out and stop. It's very dangerous in case if there is a possibility of overshoot the runway. That's why we always supposed to do the takeoff and landing with the headwind conditions. We have ASI and PAPI, that is nothing but visual aid, slope indicator. Okay, some few airport they supposed to have the indicator called PAPI. The PAPI and VASI is alternate usage. This is for your overview. I given this outlook. And few more things, lightning system. I can explain here itself. If you can able to see the edges light of the runway, you can easily identify with the white light because you're not going to confuse with the runway and taxiway because both looks like the parallel ways, but the runway is always located with the amber white light at the edge lights, and for the taxiways, they're supposed to have the blue edge lights. It's the easiest way to identify whether you are in the runway or in the taxiway because it's a very important factor you to understand the runway design. Okay, your hometown airport. This is the layout of the Vadodara and the aerodrome design. The airport is with the elevation of 100 feet. This have the example I already explained to you. They have only one single runway because it's a small city. Again, the traffic is very less. You don't have much passenger movements. That's why they have the single runway. Maybe the problem in case in future they may be extend the runway. They may be come up with parallel runways or with the crossover runways. It may be the possibilities. If you take the runway designator, you can able to see the runway 22 and 04. This is nothing but 22 plus 180, opposite is 04. Again, if you put that 04 plus 180 is 22. This is the way your opposite designator has been assigned. If you go ahead with that, for example, if the approach is on 22, if you are landing this aircraft, you have the aircraft to exit in the taxiway. They have the taxiway called Delta, Charlie, and Bravo. They will exit the taxiway and they go to the terminal building, whichever the side they will give on, because they have apron building over here, apron 2 is here, apron 1 is here, the new terminal building is over here, university, right? This is the elevation they given in the runway because the elevation also matters because the aircraft lands. If the slope is very high, for example, they given the slope for runway 04, there is no slope for 04 and as well as for no slope for runway 22 because the airport they don't have any slope deviations. Unmandatory features for the airport, you have the terminal building and the fire station is located over here because it's a mandatory aspect for the fire building, fire station to be active all the time because in case of any emergency they're supposed to assist with us. And this is the approach procedure. This is a little bit complicated things to understand. We already explained the runway 22, right? That means the aircraft is right now landing from the right side of the runway. 22, we have some approach procedures for the aircraft to land over here. The obstacle clearance is very, very important for the runway designators. If the approach is in the approach path, if you have the biggest building or tower or any mountains, it's very hard for the aircraft to land. They're supposed to be very familiarized before they do airport design. They're supposed to go ahead with this all this procedure. For example, you can see the highest peak is 2625 in the right side. You can able to see in the diagram with the highest peak of aero is mentioned here. That means you need to be considered about the obstacle clearance also in this factor. This is the approach procedure for ILS runway 22. I hope you studied in your systems and instruments about the instrument landing system procedure. That is nothing but your ILS. That's why it's being mentioned as ILS runway Zulu 22. Okay, this is the various parameters for this. This is you don't need to understand much about it. This is for the major use for the pilots to land the aircraft in the specific airport in the whether it's in a good weather condition or in the low visibility condition. Again, the next slide coming up with the runway 04 because we already talked about runway 22. Now we are talking about 04. There is a approach for this runway is only VOR. That is nothing but very high omni range frequency VOR. Again, this is for your just understanding. I given this two approach plates to understand how they do the approaches and what are all the factors they're supposed to consider about this, and the highest obstacles they how they take over in the picture. And further moving forward, this is another example. We already saw the single runway. This is a merging runway. For example, Chennai International Airport, you have the same runway condition. You have two runways, but this is not the parallel runways. They have the intersecting runway for runway. This is the major runway for the Chennai 27 and 25. Sorry, correction, 07 and 25. Most of the time, the wind favored to the Chennai is around 07 and 25. In case if the wind is not favored to this positions, the traffic is very high. It's a very huge big city. That's why they can use the alternate runway for use is 1, 2 or either 3, 0. Okay, this is the designators. We already mentioned that. In case of the runway 07 and 25 in use, this runway 1, 2 and 30 will be closed all the time. They can't do the parallel approaches because the problem is the aircraft supposed to exit in this intersection. You can't able to stop the aircraft at this position. Few international airports in foreign countries, they will named as land and hold short operation, but this is very difficult operation. They're supposed to stop the aircraft in between or before reaching this runway threshold. That's why we're not using in India. We just use only one runway for the approaches. That's why they mention 07 and 25 most of the time. And you can able to see all these terminal buildings all towards the bottom of your runway position. And there is a cargo station because there is a cargo terminal separate and for the domestic terminal separate. And there is a tower location over here in between that because they can able to see both the this runway and as well as for the runway 1, 2 and 30. And one more aspect for the parallel runways, this kind of merging runways, in case if the wind is not favored to runway 07 and 25, we already explained, they'll use the opposite runway. And sometimes, if there is some runway works or runway inspection is going on, if some damages in the runway, they can't completely shut down this airport. They're supposed to utilize this airport for the operation for the complete day. In that condition, they will use the opposite runway for even if it's a crosswind conditions. Okay, each aircraft have some limitations for crosswind and tailwind factors. That's why because of the busiest airport, they use parallel runway or merging runway. Again, another important factor you need to consider because of the land space. Even sometimes if it's a crowded city, because Chennai airport is located within the heart of the city, that's why they don't have sufficient space to construct the parallel runway. That's why they put the intersecting runway. And this is the ILS approach. We already explained. This is for the ILS runway 25. And the approach procedure, again, I explained about you. There is no meaning of you need to understand about the approach procedure. This is only for the pilot point of view. This only given for the highest obstacle you to understand. Because here it's 667. There is a lightning obstacles over here. Because whenever you are landing for this runway, you need to be care about this obstacle. That's why we need to construction before constructing. They're supposed to go ahead with what are all the obstacles nearby, anything unfavored to the situation. Okay, again in the charts they mentioned this blue color is nothing but the seaside because the landing approaches is from the seaside. That's why we go on runway 25 again. For example, I given this. The approaches is always in case if the approach is in from 25, this is over the sea approach. But in this sea approach also you have one small obstacle here 667 feet. Okay. And another thing, this is the Long Beach runway. This is the very busiest airport in one of the airport in California. I hope you're aware of it. They have total 5 runways for this. Here, if you take this, you have 2 parallel runways called 25 right and 25 left. And there is another 2 small runways. This is only for the small aircrafts or some training aircraft, they will use this runway. But all this runway is not used at the similar time. Okay, and another biggest runway is the 30 and 12 is 10,000 feet runway. Okay, because this all dimensions are mentioned in the feet. That's why it's mentioned here 10,000 feet into 200 feet. Okay, because for the international aircraft to land in this only one single runway. Once if this single runway is in operation, this all the 4 runways is being closed all the time. Okay, if the wind is not favored to this international aircraft's landing procedures, then the usage of runway is supposed to be 25 right or 25 left. But in this case, you can use both this runway in use at a simultaneous time because you don't have any objection. But the length of the runway is here 6,192 feet and 5,429 feet. Okay, that's the reason they are using this kind of concept, whether they can use 2 parallel runways, this one, or either they will, while the training purpose is going on, they will use another 2 runways, 3-4 left and 3-4 right. If the international operation is happening, they will do only one approaching procedure for the runway 30 and 12. On intersecting runway, we already talked about this is the aerial view of Chennai airport, and this is the another aerial view of the aerodrome. This is the hotspot. Okay, hotspot. Very important factor to understand the airport design is the hotspot. The main understanding of the hotspot is between the runway and the taxiway. Whenever you are exiting the runway from taxiway or whenever you are entering into the runway, the important factor is the hotspot. You need to update where you are. If you miss this hotspot locations, they will mention the numbers. If you have runway designated, I will explain to you all these hotspots in the further slides. And major components of the terminal, you know about that. I don't want to waste so much time over here. You know all that apron, including gate parking position, aircraft servicing area, taxi lanes, and ground servicing and fire extinguisher equipments. And this is the various concept. Okay, this is another thing to understand for airport passenger terminal and aprons. Now they are going with the different concept called the satellite concept, peer concept, and linear concept, transporter concept, and hybrid concept. Depends on the passengers' needs and total number of passengers to the airport. They will consider this kind of concept. I have few images for that. This is the linear. That means you have the passenger terminals over here. The aircraft is being parked in the parallel way. This is in the linear way. Then transporter, the aircraft right now it's all been parked like this. You have the finger or whatever thing, it's been directly connected to the aircraft. You can able to board and deboard the aircraft. And again, the transponder position. This is nothing but you have the aircraft transporter. It's supposed to be in the one by one. This is not in the parallel. Again, this is the third one. Is the peer concept and satellite concept. Satellite peer concept is nothing but the passenger terminal supposed to passengers are coming all the way here. There is a two positions, or it's supposed to be like mirror image of the parking position. Again, satellite image is supposed to be like a satellite. It's a 360 view. You can the passengers supposed to be come all over here, and they can board the aircraft. For each aircraft, they've been designated with the number like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It depends on the airport category. Again, it's one of the very complicated airport design. And here you have the north terminal building and south terminal building. Here, because of the lots of passenger movements, they divided into terminal buildings like north building and the south terminal building. Once if the passenger is being accounted, they'll be going all the way to the gates. They've been classified the gates for different categories. This is almost kind of a peer concept again. And this is the Hudson Field, Atlanta Airport. This is another example I given for your just a clarification in depth of the what all things will happen, because you need to have the baggage claim area, ticketing area, and security screening. And this is getting into the aircraft. And this is John F. Kennedy. We already saw. I already given the examples because you have the lots of terminal buildings because it's a very huge airport. That's why they mentioned almost the 9 terminal buildings. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have the terminal buildings. This all connected with the aircrafts in between. Okay, because if the terminal building is not sufficient, you can't able to go ahead with the procedures. It's maybe they what the reason they given this terminal 1, 2, 3 and all. For each terminal building, they given for some airlines. For example, they can assign some Air India for Terminal 1 and Indigo for Terminal 2. Like that, they will give different categories of airlines. It's easy for them to board and go for the aircraft. And this is a satellite view concept. It's been for the San Francisco in USA. They also have the satellite configuration because of the largest movement of passenger. Here also, it's a very big international airport. And they have parallel runways. That's a multi-specialty of this airport. Yeah, I gave some ideas for your peer concept and satellite view, those things. Okay, I already explained to you. This is the Bangalore airport right now. We have 2 parallel runways because previously we had only one. This is starting from the terminal building. Again, passengers, you need to understand how the systems is working. It's always work from terminal building to the apron to the taxiway to the runway. This is the way it's supposed to be ordered out. Again, another few examples. I don't want to waste the same thing. This for idea and parking and garage. This is nothing but the parking, because the parking area is also a very important factor. Because of the parking, you can able to consume lots of space in the airport. It depends on the category, because we can't. We have so many operations like civil passenger aircraft. We have the cargo aircraft flying for international sectors, carrying a very big jumbo jets. Okay, again, you have lots of small planes for your training purpose. Okay, this is again I already explained to you SFO ground operations and parking slots. And this is the airport apron and ramp. This is nothing but you can able to see very clearly. This is the very pictorial view how they are parking the aircraft for the easiest operations. And types of airport aprons, you have different categories. You can go ahead with that. I don't want to waste much time here. Planning and size, this is also important factors. Design requirements of apron. This is very important thing to consider in the airport design. First is safety. You need to be very, very safe concerned because, for example, if you have the fuel services to the aircraft, you need to be the safety is the priority reasons over here. And efficiency and geometry because the you need to consider the aircraft length and aircraft's wingspan. You can't able to park parallel aircraft if the wingspan is huge. And flexibility of the range of the aircraft and common design factors. And aircraft parking configurations, we already talked about it. This is the way they have the nose up hanger. Everyone knows hanger is mainly used for aircraft for the servicing or maintenance or overhaul. Anything we can use for it, but you need to be have the plan of hanger. But in each airport, you don't have a hanger for all the airlines. You have different airport they given for different airlines for the hangars for their service and maintenance and overhaul. Okay, and on these trucks, I think I'll skip few slides. I'll go to a few things because we have, okay, I already explained to you land and cold shot operation. This is called land and cold shot operation. If there is any intersecting runway, they already mentioned this marking. You can able to see that the marking, this is for land and cold shot operation. If the aircraft is landing over here, if the another aircraft is in approach, they can't allow to cross over this runway until this aircraft cross and park separately because this is all monitored and given instruction by the air traffic controller. That's why there is a marking. There is a two solid yellow lines and two dotted lines. Always you're supposed to think the solid line is your side. Always the solid side, your side. Then dotted side is the opposite side of the your aircraft supposed to stop. Whenever if there is a whole shot operation, you're supposed to stop the aircraft before this solid line. Then only you can't able to touch this aircraft wingspan whenever the aircraft is in approach. There is lots of incidents in the previous years. Okay, due to the low visibility operations, you can't able to see the aircraft where to stop. In that case, land and cold shot operation never be in use. Okay, taxiway systems. We already know there is different types of exits taxiways. I will give some pictorial representation that's easy for you. We already explained. This is the top one is the taxiway and bottom is the runway. You need to connect the taxiway with the runway with a circle option. You have a few markings in that. I'll show those markings in the further slides. And we already explained if you have two parallel runways, it's been marked with the numbering left and right with the marking of L and R over the runway designator. Okay, and entrance of taxiway, bypassing, I skip few things, whichever it's not, yeah, I already explained to you. If there is two aircrafts departure and landing aircrafts, you're supposed to have the proper wingtip clearance because this wingtip clearance has been already designed before you doing the airport design concept. You need to be very well aware what kind of aircraft supposed to be approached to the airport, whether the wingspan is sufficient to do the parallel operation. In case the wingspan is huge, you can't do the parallel operations in this airport. You're supposed to go out with the single operations in this airport. And few things I'll skip because of time limitations. I don't think we can cover all this, but I try to do my best. Okay, we already talked about this. This is the wind direction indicators. You need to assign in each airport. Depends on this wind direction, they will select the runway, which runway is favorable for the departure or landing on that certain day. And airport circuits, this and all not important things. Okay. And we already explained this is the runway touchdown zone lights, 3000 feet of the runway from the beginning to the threshold. Threshold is nothing but the while you start approaching the aircraft for the landing, the initial marking is called threshold. Then you have the touchdown zone point. These are all the lightning they normally place with the white lights. And visual approach lightning system. See, this is the kind of runway we already explained to you. If there is two parallel runway, you can able to see that 17 left and 17 right. That is nothing but there is two parallel runways in that airport. They are using both the runway in the parallel operation. And jet blast. Aerodrome lightnings. These are all the basic lightning colors they will use. End of the runways, because the end runway is always red, it's a danger. Runway edge lights are white and taxiway edge lights are blue, and taxiway center lines always supposed to be in the green color. Even threshold lights will be in the green color. Okay. And taxiway surface markings, and taxiway surface markings in the daytime operation. You don't have the light operations in the daytimes. That's why we always have the markings with the yellow lines. You need to follow the yellow lines. And blue lights. This is the blue lights. Lights all always used for the low visibility operations and night operations. Because of the low visibility, you can't see the center line and the sideways. That's why we use the lights for the highest precision of your taxi and takeoff and departures. Okay, and implementation of lights, you can able to see the light same at the night time. It's a green color. It's a guard light. We already explained to you. If you do the land and full shot operation or ILS operations, you have the two solid yellow lines and two dotted lines. Always I told your solid lines is your side. You're supposed to stop the aircraft before the solid line. You can't cross the line until you get clearance from the air traffic controller. This again ILS category aircraft. Again, I explained to you already. In case if there is a so sensitive, for example, you have Cat 3C landings going on, the precision of the approach is very higher. In that time, you can't cross this marking. That's why you have one more marking called critical area. You can't cross the critical area position. And designators, we explained the same thing already. Boundary sign. Okay, once if you want to exit the aircraft from the runway, you need to be clear of this solid line, because this is always I already told, whether if you are entering inside or exiting, this marking is very important. You need to be out of the solid line, not out of the dotted lines. The same procedures for different ideas. This is no entry sign. Whenever the airport they will mention no entry, they're supposed to have the circle with a small line. It indicates the no entry position. And two things is fine. Let's start. Okay, closed runways. In case if the runway is under some maintenance or work in progress, they will close the runway with the marking of yellow cross. To understand by everyone, this runway is not in use for whether it's a runway or taxiway. It's either way. Okay, but it's been mentioned with the cross circles. This is the actual designator of the airport signs. You can able to see that very clearly. We already explained all this in the separate view. It's in the complete in the same picture. You can see the aircraft whenever this is the runway. This is your taxiway. Whenever you are going for this position, you have the full shot operation. This is a runway designator. That's why it's marked as runway 15 and 33. That is nothing but 15 plus 180 is 330. That is nothing but 333. It's opposite runway. That's why they mention 15 is the opposite runway and 33 is the opposite of the another runway. We already explained the lightning system, also the same thing. If you see that runway, if you are coming from the runway, if you're landing, if you exit from the taxiway, you're supposed to have the green light in the center line. Okay, and you have the, we already explained about the whole shot operations and airport lightning. Okay, this is not required because I've been included few other slides for my air traffic control presentation, but we're not going to cover about it. Okay, anyway, I hope I covered all the topics about the airport designs. In case if you have any queries or anything you want to ask, you can ask right now. Is it okay, Nikita?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. Anything you want to
Okay,
add?
sir. We have one question regarding that.
Yeah.
In India, which company is working on this airport and aerodrome design?
Okay, that's a very good question. In the airport and aerodrome design, this has been not coming under the companies. For example, this all coming under the control of Airport Authority of India, AAI. I hope you're aware of it, right? That Airport Authority of India, what they're supposed to do, they will give the design of what all the works. Okay, the Airport Authority is a separate unit because there is two divisions in India. DGCA, it's control of only the safety. Okay, and for your Airport Authority of India, consider about the all the design of the aerodrome. They will initially get the contract from the Airport Authority of India. Okay, they will have the certain unit in the airport itself. They will take care of all this works inside the airport. In case if there is not feasible situation for the airport authority to do this work, they will go with the outside contractors like L&T, okay, or TCS. They have the construction works. They right now doing that. They will go ahead with the contract, they will sign up the MOU with them. They will do that kind of works. Okay.
Okay, sir, we have next question. One boy had asked, uh, did sir has done conventional CPL or CADET program?
Say again the question.
Did sir has done conventional commercial pilot license or CADET program?
No, it's not a CAE program. CAE is program is a separate cadet pilot program stream. Okay, it's been conducted by the airline. For example, few airlines, I don't want to mention that. For example, if the airline want to take a cadet pilots, for example, if you are a 12th standard student, if you don't have much money in your hand, you can't able to do your pilot training. You need to attend few interviews with the airlines. Okay, as like it's called as cadet pilot program. In the cadet pilot program, they will conduct more than like 4 level interviews or 5 level interviews, depends on the airlines. Whether, for example, they will conduct by Indigo. If you go with the abroad, few Malaysian Airlines, Cathay Pacific, they do this cadet pilot program. Once you get into the cadet pilot program, the company take care of you to do the training with the contract of CAE. Okay, because CAE will give the complete package of the training from the zero flying hours to till the flying in the airlines. That is nothing but you are fully qualified to fly as a commercial pilot. That's the difference. If you are going through yourself, that's a conventional. You need to pay from your packet for all your expenses for your training. It's huge cost. If you're going through the cadet pilot program, the company will take care of you. They will take all the responsibility of you until you finish your complete CPL and your typewriting nothing but whether the company has Airbus or Boeing. They will take care of all the expenses. They will keep you as an employee for your stipulated contract time. Understandable?
Okay, sir. One more question. He is asking, ma'am, can you ask to sir that he can share the approach plates for Indian airports?
Yeah, this is a kind of approach plates I've been shared already. I given few example of Vadodara approach plates. Okay, this is nothing but the approach plates. Okay, I show you remember for Chennai ILS runway 25 and viewer runway 25. Okay, if anyone specifically wants something, they want to study about it, ask them to, I'll put my email ID over here in the screen. Ask them to email me. I'll share the approach plates procedures. Okay, I already mentioned Captain captain.com. If they really want to know few of the airports approach place, specific airports, because each airport they have the approach place. It's a very big file. Okay, if they want to have the specific approach, I will help them. Ask them to email to me.
Sir, he is asking the most recent one, 1st July 2021.
Which one?
Uh, Most recent plates, 1st July 2020.
Yeah, one more important thing I'll explain to you. This approach plates is not a fixed plate. Okay, this is given by the company's manufacturer. For example, most popular version is from Nablu charts, one I will share you. And another very most important thing is Jefferson chart. This is not the version whenever you ask for. This has been, for example, I'll give you some example. This Chennai airport chart. Okay, you can see in the top, it's been updated on latest 1st July 2020. You can see in the top, and I'll go with the Vadodara. Let me see which date is that. See, this is on 23rd October 2019. That means what's the reason behind this? After that, there is nothing will be specifically changed in that airport. Okay, for example, tomorrow, if the Vadodara airport, they're constructing some new procedure or new lightning system in that airport. After that, what they will do, they will tell to the Airport Authority of India, so and so thing is been happening because the Airport Authority of India is doing this work, right? Then what they will do, they will send this work to the Nablu chart or Jefferson. They will rework the plate and send it back. Then only we can use for the approach. Okay, it's not be a specific period. Understandable?
Okay, sir. One question he is telling. I have heard one or two stories about pilot confusing taxiway with runway and landed or take off over the taxi. Is something like this actually possible? If so, how?
Yeah, possibility is there if they are not really studied about the during their training. Okay, until otherwise, it's not going to happen, because that's why I told it's been easily identifiable in the air. Okay, sometimes this confusion will happen if the airport they having the parallel runway. Even whatever the question he asked is truly right. Even sometimes
Yes.
if you have parallel runway, for example, I already explained to you 47 left and 47 right, right? Sometimes the controller asks to land in 47 left, because if the visual is very good, because the runway distance is very nearby, they will get confused with the parallel runway also sometime. Sometime if you have that kind of parallel runway, they have two taxiways parallel. Okay, sometimes there is a possibility they can do it in the taxiway also, but this is a very rare scenario, but it's been happened in the aviation industry before. Okay.
Okay, so one question we have: the recent Air India flight crashes after skidding off runway while landing in heavy monsoon rain in Kerala. There were many more crashes due to skidding of airplane. So, what is the major reason behind this? It is due to shortage of runway or because of aircraft braking failure system. How to overcome this kind of issue?
Yeah, that's a very good question, but I don't want to give the false information regarding that. Okay, but the true fact is that day it was a heavy rain in the airport. Okay, that another thing, that airport having a tabletop runway, everyone aware of it because you've been seen in the news also. It's not a confirmed news about that, but the runway is a really critical runway at the night operation, especially in the rain, because all the terrain is being in and around that airport. But still, the CVR and FDR is being took by the DGC. They already auditing with that work. Until we get the real news, we can't give the false information regarding that. Okay.
Okay, sir, we have one more question. Flight dynamics person will basically work on the design control system, includes in the aircraft or in designing of aircraft as per performance and stability parameter. What is the scope of it?
I'm not. Go ahead a little bit slower. Flight
So,
dynamics.
yeah, I am asking. He is telling flight dynamics,
Yeah.
which is basically related with the designing control system. So, do we have any scope for this stability control designing? What is the parameter? What we need to go with that for
Okay.
studying this?
This is a very good question. Again, another thing, if you really interesting about the flight dynamics thing, you want to do practicality, we can't go with the simulation process. Okay. If, for example, IIT Kanpur, I hope you're aware of it. Okay. This IIT Kanpur, what they do, if you want to do the flight dynamic checks, for example, you want to check about the each and every degree of angle of attack. For example, we can know the aircraft going to stall in some angle of attack, right? They have complete integrated system inside the aircraft. How this flight dynamics is really working. Okay, in that case, what they do, they will do the simulation in the simulation lab to analyze this factor. Then they fix the sensors over the aircraft. If you have the opportunity, go to IIT Kanpur. Okay, they have the Piper Saratoga 3. That's a aircraft name. They're using the Piper Saratoga 3 to explain how this flight dynamics parameters it's really working on the real aircraft by the simulation. The students to understand the practicality of the working. Okay, for each and every angle of attack.
Okay, the next is, sir, how to figure out the runway construction of 38 Airbus 380 and Airbus 350 brake to evacuate the function.
What's that? Come again with the last part. How
Sir,
three can
evacuate function,
what function?
vacate function.
Repeat
Sorry,
now.
sir.
No, the thing is like each airport, for example, I already told you, each airport they have a taxiways. There is a two different taxiways. Okay, one is the rapid exit taxiway. It's almost very shortest angle to exit the runway. Okay, you don't have the perpendicular taxiway. Okay, you can able to, for example, if you give me a moment, I'll give you one taxiway, then you get a fair idea. Um, just a minute. Yeah. This makes sense. See this? You can able to see the runway. You can able to see the slide right now or no?
No, sir, you have to share, sir, screen.
Okay, okay. Just a minute. I'll share that slide. One second. Hold on. Then they can able to understand the thing. Just a minute. I'll do it. You can see that right now slide.
Wait, sir. Yes, sir. It goes on.
Okay. You can able to and in the top.
Yes,
You
sir,
can
we
able
can
to see
see.
that. Like, okay, this is called rapid exit taxiway. Okay, even most of the aircraft, the bigger aircrafts, they won't do the exit taxiway like this because it's very complicated for the wheel span to turn around and exit this runway. This is very complicated. Whenever the higher that, for example, A380 or 350 or 747, 777, 800 or whatever the series, they supposed to have the exit rapid taxiway like this. Then only the wheel span is sufficient to turn around and exit the taxiway. Okay, this is the traffic flow. You can able to see the diagram, right? This is the difference between the exit rapid taxiway and the normal taxiway. They can't vacate in this kind of taxiway because you don't have the sufficient distance to turn around in that short wedges. Got it?
Okay. Sir, we have next question. What are your thoughts about circular runway which would covers the risk of overshooting aircraft?
Yeah, that's a very good question. But circling runway, it's not easier to stop the aircraft. The problem is if you're landing the aircraft, okay, maybe I think the persons maybe seen in YouTube or something in the near future they planning to construct such kind of runway, but it's not easy because you need to vanish your speed. That's a very important target, right? For example, if your approach speed is, for example, if you take consider 120 knots, okay, that is the maximum speed you are going in your BMW car, for example. Okay, that means with all the risk, if you are keeping the passenger 180 passengers or 200 passengers, you can't risk out with the speed reduction because your aircraft is supposed to stop, right? It's not a BMW car or other Swift, right? You can't able to stop the aircraft and the designated B. If it's a circle airport, you can't able to circle out and stop the aircraft. It's not easiest maneuver. Okay, that's why feasibly it's very tough. Maybe in near future, some good engineers maybe think about it.
Okay, so we have one more question. It is possible to use the slingshot launch that we used in aircraft carrier to launch heavy aircraft.
What is that? Take in
Sir,
first part.
is it possible to use slingshot?
What is a slingshot? I'm not understand that word.
Slingshot launch that we used in aircraft carrier to launch heavy aircraft.
No, I'm not able to understand that. Maybe I can research it and let you know. Maybe you'll post that question to me. I'll cross check and let you know. Okay, you can give the
Okay, sir.
answer to that concerned person. That makes sense.
Okay, so, sir, we have one question.
Yeah.
Uh, how has the outbreak impact airport operation?
How break?
How has the outbreak impacted airport operation?
What's that outbreak? What's that? What do you mean?
What some has asked, sir.
I don't know. The question is something like messed up. Whether you are talking about the aircraft braking system or the airport concern, I not understand that. What he trying to ask? That's the thing. Just ask him.
Uh, I guess he is not live now.
Okay.
Okay, sir. I'll say the something.
Okay. Nikita, are you with you?
Yes, sir. I'm sharing, sir. One. Okay. Uh, this is uh, this is organization in that sir is the principal consultant in avion aviation from 2017 to till present. With that, I had given about this, I had given Facebook link. You can go and you can text to all relating with that avions aviation is. Whether my screen is visible, sir?
Yeah, your screen is visible. Yeah, I can able to see you. Apart from that, nothing is happening.
So this is the Facebook link I shared over the Facebook
Can you
also.
see?
This link, Avions Aviation Pilot Training. This is handling the responsibility for the undertaking projects related with airports and aviation management. Along with that, it will assist the various college university setup regarding the aircraft simulator or aircraft ground run. So you can go, you can even like or subscribe over that, and you can hit the link. Sir, they are asking your mail ID. Uh,
Yeah, I already given my
uh,
mail ID. You can able to see that, right?
this
It's
is,
Captain's. Yeah, I already given that. You can see that right now.
sir, you just share over the, your
Okay, you want me to share the? I'll just share the screen. You can't see my screen?
I should stop sharing, sir. Then you can share.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Yes, sir. No, sir, I can't
So,
see. You can share, sir, because I just stopped this chat.
okay, resume presentation. Okay, just hold on.
See the first slide.
Yeah, just a minute. I'll just doing that. Yeah, now you can able to see my email ID, the front screen. Nikita, you can see my email ID.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. This is my email ID. You can, if anyone want to post or something, or if me need of some any approach plates or something, you can ask for, right. And some other questions also they ask. If they have any questions or any further helps regarding that in future also, you can contact me through the email ID. I can ready to answer your questions. Okay, most welcome for anyone. You copy it down, Nikita. Nikita, are you with me? Nikita, hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, everything is fine.
Yes, maybe she is having network issue.
Yeah. Okay. Is it anything else apart from that? Anybody, any questions?
Yes, sir. He asked the outbreak means corona outbreak, sir.
Sorry.
The
Say again.
question, once
Your
again,
voice is
I
not
am
audible.
saying, uh, sir, he asked
Yeah.
daily basis means corona pandemic on the all aircraft on the airport outbreak. How has the outbreak impacted on the airport operation? That outbreak means related with the corona pandemic disease.
Yeah, that's true. That's everyone aware of it because previously we had from that from March 2020 till almost we can say till end of the July, the all the airlines we had lots of issue regarding this pandemic because we never expected this pandemic in the airline industry. Now little bit it's all recovering back because of this all the lockdown procedures, everything. But still everyone is struggling with the international operations. But DGC as of now told they expect to start up the international after 30th of September. But still it's in the question mark because this is not a small pandemic, but still we are doing the domestic operations. As far as the concern about the corona pandemic, now still all the airlines is struggling with operating all the sectors in a full-fledged manner. They are doing their best to start up a little bit more and more. Okay, and even there is lots of airline employee redundancy. So many things are happening because of this pandemic because it's all unexpected thing happened. But hopefully this will solve soon. Everyone hoping for best because we can't give the clear view as per the WHO.
Okay, sir. With that, we'll wind up. Thank you, sir. You can
Thank
say,
you. Okay, thanks a
okay.
lot for everyone participating in this session. Anyway, thanks for giving the opportunity by Parul University, and thanks for my student Nikita for giving the opportunity to share my views with all of you in the great day, the 11th September, right? That's a good time. Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot for everyone. Bye. See you then.
Bye. Okay, bye.
Yeah, bye bye.